Okay, I am live, and I just want to make sure that I can hear myself. Right now I can't find my phone, so I left it in the room. Let's see if I can see myself on YouTube. It says I can see myself with the link. There I am. Unlisted. Good. So, I have a quick first video where basically my idea for this is just do a startup from having an idea to making an MVP, which stands for minimum viable product. And it expects you to have no prior knowledge to programming, so it will start off very slow, very quick, and hopefully very easy. First thing I want to highlight is that programming is beautiful. You can do a lot of really neat things. It's very exciting. It's very fun. And it's something that's going to change the world. It already has. What we work off of today is what is built on the shoulder of giants, in that there has been so much progress made coming from like the world's biggest computers that took up an entire warehouse just to run simple numbers. There were huge efforts into creating something such as a MacBook or a Windows PC where you can just drop in and download a program and just run it. So be thankful that you're not there in the early days, because today we have a lot of resources at our fingertips. Everything can be decompiled down to a root nature. Essentially, everything that we're utilizing today is built upon the same sort of parameters and ideas that sort of evolved out of the early computational styles. So we have languages, and for the most part, all of the different languages kind of work the same. Like, for better or for worse, of a high-level understanding is it all works the same. It's just different paths have different strengths depending on the needs of your project and so forth. But this introduction video is going to be focused on the basics of the Unix terminal, so you can create a file, delete a file, and create a directory and so forth. I'll be an iTerm. I'm on Mac, but you can also just use terminal, which is the generic name for it, and they're all going to work pretty much the same. If you're on Windows, you should be able to easily download or enable the Linux command line. As of 10, it's pretty much bundled with it, or at least really accessibly. Jumping back up, we have just a little bit more on the philosophy of programming is that there are so many different paths that you can take that it's easy to get overwhelmed. And what I want you to know is that everyone's going to feel overwhelmed with this, no matter what. Starting a new project, starting a new language, it's all going to be very overwhelming. But you just have to look at it as simply as possible and just take it step by step. And the most important thing is to have fun. Because if you're not enjoying this and you're just doing this to get to a bigger paycheck at the end of the day, it's not going to be some passion for you. It's just going to be something that you, at the end of the day, begrudgingly do. So our basic command line tools tutorial today is going to run through a few different basic commands inside the terminal. Now, command is basically anything that you enter into here that once you push enter, it does something. So like if you do a bunch of nothing and then push enter, it's going to say like command not found. But in our first tutorial right here, we're going to change directories. And the basics of the command line is that you're just going to find the command that you want, and then you're going to put a space in between it, and then we're going to pass what are called parameters down into that. So the cd command stands for change directory. and I know that I have a directory called web. So I'm going to type web, but you should also familiarize yourselves with paths and how paths work, because cd web also means the same thing. This period means my current folder, and the / means I guess directory, and then the directory name web. So let's get into our web folder, and then we'll move on to make directory. And it's going to follow the same format where we're going to type in the command and then space, and then after that we're going to name the directory, and we're going to name it tutorial, and then all we have to do is push enter, and then we can revert back to our first command that we learned, and that is cd, and then you can type tutor, or I've already started typing it, and you can push tab to complete it since it's already there. Now we're inside of our empty folder. Let's see what files are inside of it. And that brings us to the ls command, which stands for list. So ls, you can just type with no spaces, no parameters passed to it. It stands alone. And nothing came back in here. That's because this folder is empty. But let's go back into, let's say, period means current folder, and then back one folder directory, and then period, which is going to basically take us out of this tutorial folder. So this one will take us out of the tutorial. This one will take us out of the web tutorial, the web folder, and bring us back into this tilde / which is the short name for home. So we can cd back all the way back to this tilde. But if we go back into cd web tutorial, we can go straight to the shortcut, which is tilde / and now we're back in the home directory. So we can see with ls there's a lot more stuff inside this. Just your usual user settings are in here, documents and downloads and games or whatever else you've put inside this home directory. This directory is normally where you're just going to work out of if you're on Mac. If you're on Linux, it's basically going to be the same thing, but most of the times when you're in a new Linux distribution or a new user or something like that, this folder might be empty. Nonetheless, wherever you're working, just make it your home. It doesn't really matter. Let's go back into our tutorial folder. So to overview, this should be an S. We pass parameters to the command by basically separating them. And in this case, this parameter has a dash in front of it. So this ls would pass in with the A. And if we do that, it formatted it top to bottom instead of like that. ls-la, I think is what I was trying to show, and then this basically with the L on it gives it like what the user that created it, the user group, how big the file is, when it was created, and stuff like that. CD, like we had done before, you can pass a variety of different things into CD, telling it where to change the directory. And then we're about to use in the next step the rm command, where we're basically just going to remove a file that we're about to create. So in this case, we're passing in a -r into the remove command, but it's also going to be expecting a file name. So this is, you can see how you can kind of chain different commands, or in this case, a command, an argument type, more or less. Oh no, in this case, the R is going to stand for recursive, and we'll get into that in just a second. But let's move on to editing files within the command line, because that's another big thing that you're going to need to know. So the nano command is really important, and it's going to expect a file name for us to type it in. So let's do our temp.txt file name. And even though it doesn't exist yet, that's fine. That's why we're using it. The basics of the nano file are on the bottom here. These are the little shortcuts that you use to get in and out of the file. And then basically every programming tutorial should have at least some reference to hello world. And that is just a thing that programmers do. These are commands that we can use. So if you have a lot of pages, you can go previous page, next page. Cut text out, uncut text, because you can't just, it's not like a Word document where you just basically like click and edit it. You basically have to follow this little cursor wherever it goes. So let's try and cut something out, and this up caret right here is the control symbol. So we're just going to hit Control K, and we took hello world out. I'm going to move it a space down, and then paste, I think, is, oh, now I messed it up. Cut. No, it's not. It's not Control V. Let's do Command G to get help. And I didn't know when I was going to fail during this tutorial, but I'm glad it happened here, because Nano has this little help section, and instead of me cutting this part out and preventing myself from looking like an idiot, I'm just going to show you what I would have done. And that is the essence of programming. A lot of people are going to make fun of themselves as programmers for basically perusing Stack Overflow and searching for how other people have solved things in the past. And that's a proper way of doing things. It's a part of educating yourself, is seeing how other people are doing it, looking through the documentation that people that have come before you have put together, because they know that you're going to run into the same questions or the same issues. So basically, I want to know how to paste. I cut this out. It's stored in the cut buffer. Is there a way to search this? Oh, okay. Insert next keystroke, insert a tab, cut the cursor, smart home. Well, now you're probably going to be thinking that I should have cut this out. I swear there's a search. This is the pain of programming, people. This is the pain. How about if we just think? Oh, okay. So I should just follow my gut. This uncut to me sounded more like a undo, but it apparently is more like a paste. It's just sounds funny. So let's just use this command down here at the bottom, the Control X, to close that. We should have hello world still in the buffer, and we're going to uncut it by doing Control U right here. So we're going to do Command K, and it's basically going to take the whole line. I'll put it back up here with Control U. Okay, whew, got through that. It's crazy. And now we're going to do Control X to get out of there. Oh, but it's asking us something. And that's another thing that I really like about working the command line, is that it comes with a bunch of prompts, basically. So it's, as confusing as things are, a lot of the times the people that have come before you are going to put in place instructions on what you need to do. So it makes programming, in this sense, a bit like an adventure game, where you're in a dungeon, you have to find your way out, and there are certain clues to get you in and out. So, save modified buffer. Answering no will destroy changes, all caps. Okay, so if we made some edits in here and we didn't want to save them, then we can cancel it with Control C. But in this case, we're just going to push Y for saving it or no for not saving it. And I'm pushing yes. Okay, and then in this case, because it's a new file, it's going to ask us to write the file name. So I guess we didn't have to specify the file name initially. We could have typed it here in this prompt, but I think that's good. And I think I'm just pushing enter now. And now let's go back to our ls command. And we can see temp.txt is here, and we are successful. We are rolling in success. Moving on from Nano, a lot of advanced users are going to get into Vim or V. We can do Vim text, and you can see we have the file opened up again with a bunch of like weird tildes at the bottom, and we have a lot less help going on. And in fact, I don't even recommend doing this because as a new programmer, you might get stuck inside Vim and never get out. I'm not exaggerating. But while you have me, if you're in here, you push I to insert, and then you can type. And then the escape key to stop, the Q key, no, not Q, colon, Q, exclamation point. See, oh, here we go. I've really done it now. Colon. I don't know how I got into that weird menu, but that's Vim for you. Q, exclamation, and I quit that file without saving it, so when I nano in, everything's back to where it was. And let's just leave it that way. Control X to get out with nano. In Vim, that's a whole nother lesson. Let's not get into it, but I do want you to know, because it is important. It allows you to type faster, allows you to edit a little bit more quickly. And people have whole workflows around Vim, and it's quite fascinating. I'm not one of them. And our last command to wrap up this whole intro to the terminal is removing the files that we just created. So we're going to start by removing temp.txt. And as mentioned before, the remove command is just rm for the space in between. And then we're going to type in the file name or partial of it, and then hit tab to complete it. And then everything is gone. Perfect. Now if we go back, the period / that will take you out of this folder and into the web one. So we can see we're still in the web folder, and we're going to try and remove the tutorial folder. But we get an error. Tutorial is a directory. So that comes back up to here, where we're going to be removing an entire directory. Because it's possible that there are files inside of here, even though in this case we don't, we want to instruct the command line to go through and delete everything inside that folder. I think it's kind of a layer of protection so that you don't remove a whole folder without explicitly saying, hey, I know this is a folder, let's get rid of it. And the R stands for recursive. And recursive is a really fun part of programming where basically your code gets to call itself. In this case, we're saying go through this folder, go through this folders, and so forth forever until there's no more folders, and then delete all the files in that folder, then go back and then delete all the folders in that folder, etc. Recursion, awesome. So let's rm-R tutorial, and our tutorial folder is now gone. You can see we can't tab into it anymore, try to see into it, there's no such file or tutorial. So everything we've just done is now gone and deleted. I really hope you had a good instructive time watching this. I'm really looking forward to the next steps. Comment below or whatever. Don't smash that like button. Let me know what your thoughts are, most importantly. I know this is super high level. You're not going to be a programmer after watching this, but being able to navigate the command line is the first step, and will set us up for a lot of success going forward. So hope you enjoyed it.